What up? So, today is Saturday, the 8th, I think, or 9th, February 2025. So, are you spiritual or are you religious? Me, I would tend to lean more on the spiritual side. I guess most people, if they consider themselves religious, they would tell you that they believe in some sort of, I guess, a deity or religious figure, i.e., Jesus Christ, or I don't know, what else is out there. I don't know, religious wise. I don't know. I'm not a religious person.
To me, it's really just, I usually just see it as those two, really just as religious or spiritual. That's about it.
No, I'm saying, if you were religious, what would you believe in? What are the other ones that they believe in, that people believe in? Other than like Jesus Christ, what are the other ones?
Muslim, Jewish,
Right.
just tons of them.
But I'm saying, yes, I don't know any names or anything like that. Like I said, I'm not really religious, and I'm not really that interested in studying that many religions. Yeah, so I guess whatever comes with being religious, I think one thing I do know is that from the experiences that I had being around religious situations, first let me just say this, like our parents, my mom and dad, his mom and dad too, they both met in California, and both came from small towns, and they ended up in this, what is now known as a cult, a religious cult, I guess. But, it stemmed from them, from them being raised around religion, Christianity particularly. My dad being from a small town in the South, heavy church, I guess, he ended up, I think at one point my dad, I remember him saying he wanted to be a preacher at one point.
Yeah.
Thought he was going to be one. And my mom, I'm not real sure how she ended up out here in that cult, in that religious cult, I'll say. But she came from the same background, from a small town in Illinois, raised in church, big time.
Right.
So with that upbringing, I guess they thought that was where their life was, and that's where they were, and that's where they both met, in that same space. And, go ahead.
A big part of that, what we're trying to get into is how they got into a really confusing and dark place with religion, right? And how that happened was because I think one of the ingredients was them being young and impressionable, and they were searching for answers, right? One of the ingredients, I think, is how people get caught up into these religious cults, and that's how our parents got caught up into it, for sure. Tony Alamo, that's all I'm going to say. Do your research on that, Tony Alamo. But yeah, they met each other through a religious cult, got pregnant with us while they were in that religious cult.
Mm-hmm.
And, they went through some things. I can't really give you all the details on it because they only told us a little bit when we were kids. But what I do know is they were very much involved in it, and they went through a lot of horrible things.
Probably some traumatic things. It's probably why they didn't talk about it too much.
Right.
Growing up.
But one big thing that did come from that is they made the decision to not raise us on religion because of that. Us growing up, religion was talked about, but not something that was pushed on us for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely encouraged us to make our own decisions on religion if we're going to get involved in religion at all.
Yeah.
They really more just encouraged us to get to know who we were, get to know ourselves on the spiritual level, even though they didn't call it spirituality. They just said get to know yourself.
And I remember them stressing about love, just moving with love.
Yeah.
I remember my mom and dad, one of the dopest pieces of information they could have ever given me as a person in life, for me as a creative person. I remember my mom and my dad told me, whatever you do, like if you make a wish, if you pray for something, if you want, do it from a place of love. They were like, feel it. That was the smartest thing they could have ever told me, like don't just ask for it, feel it. That's essentially how they put it to me, To me, that's spirituality, because that's coming from me, not something external from myself, which in my opinion religion kind of steers people in that direction more to depend on something outside of themselves, as opposed to something that you know for sure, which is you. You know you. You know what you like. You know what you don't like. You know what you're capable of. You know what you're not capable of.
Right.
So why wouldn't you, folk, at least attempt to try to connect with you to get more out of you? You see what I'm saying? Like, to me, that was logical. That made sense to me. You know, that resonated with me when I heard things like this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but especially when my mom and dad told me to do it with love, feel it. You know.
Ultimately, I think that's what religion is really. Well, at least how it started. I think it's the main goal was to get you to lead you to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was to lead you to you.
For sure.
It was a guide to get you to get to really know you.
I agree.
Your connection with you,
I
the
agree.
higher self of you,
Yeah.
higher version of you. I think that's what it was supposed to do. I think it still can be used that way if it's done correctly. It's done with pure intentions. I think it can still lead you to just you.
Yeah.
But now, you know, the reason I'm bringing this up, because the other part I'm about to say about religion is that because I know that it's used with really negative intentions. So what I was going to say is it's used to control. I'm not dissing your religion, whatever religion you're into, that's cool. All respect, all love. But what I do, my opinion is that I really strongly believe that religion is now, the way it's used to control.
Through fear.
Through fear, right. It's one
More
of the
than
biggest.
love.
It's one of the biggest, if not the biggest way to control somebody. We see it done in politics. I'm going to say that. We see it done in politics. The biggest way to control a person a human being is through fear.
Yeah.
You know? And religion definitely does that. We see it all the time. And I think that's one of the reasons why parents wanted to stay away from that, because it puts you in a fearful state a lot of times. I feel like a lot of people, when I was younger, when I would see people who were super religious, particularly Christian, a lot of times they would say that they didn't want to do this or they didn't want to do that. Why? Because they didn't want to go to hell, right?
Yeah.
Once again, your only motive is fear, then to me that almost felt like, how genuine is that really? You're only scared to go to hell. If it wasn't for the fear to take away the hell factor, then what? Would you do it then? Would you murder then? Would you steal then? Would you lie then? If there was no murder, if there was no hell behind that, you know? That's what's really, to me, that really shows what your real character is. Because me, I never believed in hell. I never believed in what hell. I don't believe it as a place. But guess what? I still understood that I don't really want to lie unnecessarily. I don't really want to steal. I don't want to kill
Or hate.
unnecessarily, you know, or hate, you know. Because to me, there was always those intuition will tell you that. You know what I'm saying? Intuition will still help guide you with all that. I didn't need religion to tell me what was right or wrong for myself. And I do want to say that when we talk about right or wrong, when we talk about those commandments that they talk about in Christianity in particular, you don't really need, I don't think I need the commandments. I always knew what was right or wrong for myself. And really that's what it's about, for yourself. Here we go, talk about self again. Right or wrong for yourself. You got to know what's right or wrong for yourself. And the only way to do that is through getting to know yourself. If religion gets you there, great. But I just want to say take heed with that, because it can steer you in a very darker place than necessary. So do what you got to do to get to yourself is what I'm really saying.
And you don't necessarily know what you're attaching yourself to energy-wise when you choose to subscribe to some other shit that you don't even know, if it don't necessarily even resonate with you. If it resonates with you, then fine, all for it, go for it. But if you're only doing it out of fear of something, then it likely is not resonating with you, and you don't even know what that energy is really for sure. But you know you know what I'm saying? Like, that to me was another logical way of just looking at it. Like, I don't know, you know what I mean? Like, that's still an idea that somebody else came up with. That's, you know, like, all the things that I've heard in regards to religion from my personal experience, it just never really connected with me, because it came from a place of do this or you'll suffer the punishment of this.
Yeah.
That doesn't connect with me. It's like,
felt like
I'm
a threat.
supposed to.
Felt like a threat for me.
Yeah,
I didn't like it.
Like Bible study. I remember being in Bible study for the first time as a kid, being like, first of all, it was so boring. Second of all, it just seemed so depressing. Then I'm hearing all these fucking dark, weird fucking things that's supposed to happen to you if you don't believe this. And then I'm like, who is this person they're talking about? I mean, literally, these are the things that I'm thinking about as a kid. Like, I don't get any of this. None of this makes sense. You know, it's just not, I'm not connecting with it. Yeah, I'm supposed to be afraid of this hell that you guys are talking about. But in my mind, I'm thinking, shit, man. I mean, I've seen some pretty fucked up shit already. At least I did as a kid. You know, we lived in L.A., so we was, you know. But it didn't work for me. It didn't kick in for me like that. It didn't make me want to be like, okay, I'm gonna straighten up and be a good kid now because I don't want to go to hell. Like, it just didn't work for me.
Let me tell you something that logically didn't make sense for me when I was a kid. I laugh at it now, but you know, they say once you die, you're gonna be spirit, right? You're gonna be spirit. That's one thing they always say. You're gonna be spirit. You're not gonna be physical. And I'm thinking, okay, so you're telling me in hell I'm gonna be burning? Right. Eternal fire or whatever.
Right.
Spirit don't burn.
I was
like, right. I don't burn. I'm spirit.
I was like, this shit don't add up.
And then in my kid mind, I'm thinking, so basically I'll be a ghost, right?
Yeah.
So ghosts can't burn.
Yeah.
Ghosts can't even touch people, let alone get burnt by fire. And so my mind right there, I was like, nah, it's some bullshit going on right here.
When I would hear the word lake of fire,
lake
how
of
the fuck
fire.
is there a lake of fire?
So I was like, either fire is fire or lake is lake. How the fuck is there be a lake of fire? I'm
trying to wrap my mind around this.
All the little small things that didn't make sense, you know.
Oh my God.
And not to say that every time something doesn't make sense doesn't necessarily mean it still ain't true.
Right.
But I'm just saying, for me,
yeah,
already I started going, I don't know if this is gonna work for me because this ain't making sense logically, right?
Yeah, man.
You know, if you're a person with at least have a brain, logic's gonna play a part in there somewhere.
And then it didn't help like when the Jehovah's Witnesses come to the crib in the morning. And we'd just be like, slam the door in his goddamn face. Boom. They'd be like, or we'd be at school. We had this little chick in our school. She was the Jehovah's Witness. And she's like, Jesus will come back. He's going to get you. Like, it was all scare tactics.
All threat stuff. All threatening stuff. Right.
And we some little hood kids. You can't tell me Jesus go get you.
Yeah.
That ain't enough to make me get right.
Show me. Well, you know what I'm saying? Show me. We got threats every single day outside of our door.
That's why I was like, that scary shit just didn't connect with us. Because we was already seeing some pretty way out shit.
Right.
So, I mean, my understanding of the world was pretty different for a kid. I was pretty aware of what the world was at that time because it showed me.
Right.
And all the other fantasy shit, what it sounded like to me, just sounded like some shit. You know, I respected it. My mom was into it, and I was like, that's what they doing. But I mean, this shit just ain't making sense to me. I'm not gonna put myself through that shit. You know.
Yeah.
You know, and not to mention all the other stuff that come with it. I've seen all the judgmental parts about it. I seen the way, quote unquote, saints or whatever the fuck they supposed to be, holy people, religious people, the way they treated people the worst.
Yeah.
I was like, that's not coming from a very good place. Right. It ain't love. I know that. I knew that much.
Right.
So.
Yeah. So, but I do want to stress that our parents never forced it on us.
Yeah.
And that was because of that cult.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you guys, just a quick, I want to go into anybody know about it. Leave some comments. Let us know if you know anything about it. Like I said, the leader of the cult, his name was Tony Alamo.
Yeah.
They definitely did I think Sundance Channel or something like that did a quick little show about it or whatever. But do your research on it. Tony Alamo, dude was a fucked up dude.
I used to, when we go through the family photo album, I was seeing him and my mom and dad's wedding pictures because they got married in that place.
Yeah, he definitely modeled himself after Jim Jones. If you guys know who Jim Jones is, don't drink the Kool-Aid guy. Yeah, that guy. You know, but he definitely he wanted to look just like, he did look just like him. You would almost think he was him. Yeah. He modeled the cult situation after him. But yeah, that's the shit that our parents were into, and that was what led us, like I said, for them to tell us, you know. Stay away from religion, but learn you. Do your thing, you know. And like I said, I'm super, super grateful for that because otherwise I probably would have got caught up into it too because my personality, I'm one of them gung-ho type motherfuckers, you know what I'm saying? Lack of better word, crash out at times, you know what I mean? Especially when I was younger. Because if I was onto something, I went head first and I was all the way in it, you know what I'm saying? I was all the way in it, super loyal, down, like my dad was with that religious shit. But, So I'm saying that to say, just get to know you. Stick to the you. Get to know self. You know, that's what's gonna lead you to the right or the right or wrong in this life, in this world, in this reality.
Yeah, getting to know you, and the other part of that, really another word for that is your spirituality. Mm-hmm. And me personally, I got into my spirituality. I tapped into it big time. I think consciously from a real, just. Confident place was when I was about 15, 16. I started reading different types of books on spirituality. I briefly studied different religions just so I could see what was what and where they coming from with it. But ultimately, it all came to the same conclusion for me, and it all sounded like spirituality. You know what I mean? Different names and shit, go about it different ways. But we're talking about the same thing essentially. Mm-hmm. That was the conclusion I drew, and I just started reading more and more into like near-death experiences and stuff like that. just trying to understand like what's on the other side of this thing called life. You know what I mean? Because religion will tell you don't look into it. It'll tell you just trust what we're telling you. And I'm just not that kind of person. I gotta at least know a little bit for myself. That's what I'm here for. You know?
Right.
And I've always been a person that wanted to know the truth by any means. You know?
I feel like you should be allowed to test things too. That's one thing I never saw religion do, is tell you that it didn't allow you to test it to see if it works or not. You know what I'm saying? It almost made you go, you better not test that. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I mean. Just take what I'm telling you. And
it
don't even tell you, trust it out.
Right.
It says, just believe me.
Take it.
You know, with spirituality, when I started reading these things, it said, test it out. Try it. Try it for yourself. See.
Right.
How else are you gonna know? How else are you gonna really know?
Right.
That's not a real way to learn. To just take some information and don't even test it out.
Right.
You don't even question who it's coming from. That's not true learning.
Right.
True learning is trying it, being tested, failing, putting it into practice, experiencing, learning new things. You know, that's what learning is. Right. You know, and it doesn't come from a place of fear. It comes from a place of wanting to know. You know.
Speaking of not coming from a place of fear and wanting to learn and test, that's what led to me to experiment with Luciferianism. Right. I did my reading on it, tried a few things. And to me, I never saw it as a religion. I just saw it as more of if anything, a philosophy, right? A philosophy.
You're getting into some pretty heavy shit, buddy.
Not really. Some people might consider it heavy, right? But I will say that there's a difference between Satanism and Luciferianism. There's definitely a difference. I'm not going to get into debating it, but I'll just say there is a difference between Satanism and Luciferianism. Mm-hmm. In no way am I saying I'm a Luciferian.
Black folks, they don't like that. That Satan talk, boy. They don't like that.
Well, we're going to talk about Christian and we're going to talk about religion. We're going to talk about them things too.
You brought up a very good point. How you going to talk about that, but then want to talk about
the other side?
Satan. Right. You know what I mean? Like, how you going to acknowledge one and not acknowledge the other? You only acknowledge it in one particular context when you want to. Mm-hmm. You know, but I feel like everything plays its part in life. You know, at least question it. God damn.
And I'll just put my opinion out here. For those of you who believe that God is us, we're made in His image. Well, if we're made in the image of God, then we're made in the image of Satan too. Because I believe they're one and the same. Satan came from God. Then we're both. We exist as both. I do believe we exist as both, God and Satan, or Lucifer, however, whatever word you want to use. The negative and the positive, the good and the bad. Right. The healer and the killer, the creator and the destroyer. We're both. It's a matter of choice. You heard of free will, right?
Right.
We make those choices to be that every single day.
Yeah, it's like, how you gonna be afraid of evil? And it's like, do you ever been angry before? You ever thought a negative thought? You ever wanted to harm someone?
Right.
Out of anger, out of ignorance?
Right.
That's called evil, right? So how we gonna be afraid of evil? We talk about the devil and evil as it's something to be afraid of, for one, which is ridiculous, when it exists within you. Definitely. So you don't like you don't love you.
Right.
You say you love Jesus or whoever else you love God or whatever, but you don't love evil. But you got evil within you. I'm just saying, think about that. You're not a perfect person. None of us are perfect. We've all been on both sides of the fence with this.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, think about that. That's kind of weird and contradictory. To like one thing about which correlates to you. You like this one side, but you hate the other side.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It doesn't sound whole to me.
No, it doesn't sound balanced.
It doesn't sound balanced at all.
And I'm not telling you one way or the other. It's not my job. It's for you to decide for you. I'm just saying what makes sense to me and what don't make sense to me. Understand that. Right. But how do y'all feel about these things? Speak up, holler back, get in the comments.
Right. Make sure to like this video. Make sure to subscribe to this channel most of all, because you subscribing is what's going to help us keep these conversations going between us both. And I'd love it if you would comment. I don't care if you love it or you hate it. Please leave a comment. Let us know so we can keep these conversations going, because I'd love to have a conversation. I don't want it to be sitting here talking.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, are you a spiritual person or are you a religious person? Think about it. Do you love yourself or do you hate yourself? You know what I mean? If you want to love yourself, if you call yourself loving yourself, love yourself wholly, because that's what it is. You gotta love the good, the bad, and the ugly. All those imperfections or seemingly imperfections are really your fucking superpowers, probably. If God, quote unquote, you loved yourself. If you love yourself all the way. Love all the things about yourself.
Yeah, the good and the bad.
The good and the bad. Because it's there for a reason. You know what I mean? And if I had to guess, the more you dig into that and try to understand it, the more you'll probably end up loving yourself more. You know what I mean? And you'll stop looking outward outward to get the answers that you need about you, from you, for you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But anyway, I love you. I love myself. I love you because I love myself. Now you love yourself. Love yourself for yourself. DV.